As a child, I experienced some trauma, quite a bit of childhood trauma. And that trauma continued into adulthood. And what ended up happening for me is a direct result of that trauma is that I began to use drugs as a way to self-medicate whatever it was that was happening inside of me that had been caused by the trauma. I was using substances for 25 or more years, primarily opioids, cocaine, a lot of cannabis, but for 25 years, I had misused opioids, and I would call myself a poly drug user. When I entered recovery, what I learned was that I actually have some mental health issues. So when I, in recovery, saw my addiction physician and said, gosh, I think maybe we do need to look at the mental health piece. And I want you to understand the stigma of doing that was tremendous. So that I was even able to do that was a huge step forward in my recovery. But it also was at the point where I began to get prescriptions that were going to take me to the pharmacist in a way that a pharmacist might raise an eyebrow when he saw those prescriptions. And unfortunately, the medications are Lamictal, which would instantly brand you with a mental health challenge to anybody who understood what that medication was. Buprenorphine, which will brand you as somebody with an opioid use disorder. And then Vyvanse, which is Ritalin or Adderall, or it's an amphetamine that's used to treat ADHD. And all of those drugs are highly controlled, and they have their own stigma attached to each one of them. And then I have to take those prescriptions to a pharmacy. And that pharmacist has no idea that I've been in recovery for 21 years now, and that I do have a handle on my substance use history. The pharmacist is just seeing somebody show up with a bunch of mental health prescriptions and narcotic prescriptions. And in that message, I'm telling the pharmacist I have mental health and addiction problems, and you should probably be worried about that, even though he doesn't have to be with me. So when I have to engage, or anyone with a history of substance use has to engage with the pharmacist, and that eye roll, or they hear that sigh, or there's the sense from the individual that the pharmacist doesn't like me. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. You have this sense that you're not liked and you're not welcome there. For those of us with those histories who show up carrying the baggage of our mental illness, the baggage of our shame and guilt from our substance misuse over our lifetime, yeah, we come with the chip on our shoulder, and it doesn't take much to trigger that chip for us. The work that I do today as a person in recovery is directly related to the recovery work, right? It's related to the recovery field. And when I share what my experiences have been at the pharmacy, at the hospital, at the doctor's office, I'm one voice of millions of us who are experiencing these same things independently. The field itself is beginning to realize just how powerfully pernicious stigma is. And if this is happening to me, and I know it's happening to many of the people that I've coached and mentored, and I know that federal, state, local organizations understand the power of stigma and how stigma keeps people from treatment and keeps people from recovery. The most important thing we can do is to reduce the stigma in order to get people into treatment. We'll lose people if we don't end this stigma. And It's really straightforward and fairly simple. Treat us with dignity and respect. Let us know on the front end what's to be expected of us, what could get us in trouble. And I can promise you, those of us who are serious about our recovery will adhere, will comply. We have been, and we want to. And this is our opportunity to do so. Please allow us.